Hey, everybody. Welcome to Lessons from the Cockpit. I'm Belinda Sandor, and today we're going to talk about why you should never give discounts. Okay, everybody, let's do this. I'm Belinda Sandor. I am the host of Lessons from the Cockpit, and I'm thrilled that you're here today because I'm going to share both tactical and practical, a tactical and practical lesson for your VA business. And it's a really important one today because we're going to talk about giving discounts. And a lot of people think that giving discounts is a good way to welcome a new client, and I completely disagree. So today I'm going to talk about that, and we're going to go into detail. So I'd love to hear where you're coming in from. I can see a bunch of you have joined me, which is great. So let me know who you are, where you're coming in from. And I want to tell you that Lessons from the Cockpit is brought to you by the VA Connection. And at the VA Connection, we work with new, aspiring, and established virtual assistants to help them build thriving businesses. And we do that through our free online community. It's a global online community. We are represented in 47 countries, which is pretty exciting, and our courses and our coaching programs. So welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So today we're going to talk about why you never give a discount in your virtual assistant business. And many of you think, a discount for a nonprofit or a new client is a good idea, but we're going to talk about why I don't want you to do that. Okay. So first, let me introduce myself and then we'll jump in. And while I'm doing that, please let me know where you're coming in from. I can see you. Okay. So this is me and my little delish, as I like to call her, Emily, 11 years ago. She was 9 and I was just starting out as a VA. And I had gotten myself in quite a little mess. I was a newly single mom, getting divorced. I was completely overwhelmed and uncertain. I hadn't been able to pay the mortgage for over a year. I had debt all over the place. I didn't have a job. And we had to move 3 times in 4 years before we finally settled down. And it was a lot of stress. It was a lot of stress. And my confidence was completely shattered, completely shattered with all of that going on at the same time. And, it's kind of a joke in my family, if you want to drive me crazy, give me a problem I can't solve. And that's how I felt all the time. Like everywhere I looked, there was just another mess and another mess and another mess. But I was really determined to turn it around. I didn't want to be paying minimum payments on my credit card forever, which is like, again, with the stress, right? And I didn't want to be on a first name basis, with the lady at the mortgage company, which I absolutely was. So I decided that having some kind of $50,000 or $60,000 a year job was not going to make it for me. It just wasn't going to be able to get me out of the mess that I was in, and I needed to do something completely different. So what I did was I decided to do admin work for entrepreneurs, and it was kind of it was definitely a figure it out as I went situation. Because I never heard of a VA. Like I said, this was 11 years ago. Not many people, I'm not even sure that when that term became, I should look that up, when that term became popularized, but it just, I was just doing everything I could to make it work because I wanted to be a Girl Scout leader. I wanted to be home with my daughter. I wanted to be able to pick her up from school. When she got sick, and I wanted to be there, and I didn't want the grind and I never had a 9 to 5. It was always like a 9 to 7 or something like that. I didn't want that. So since I'd been a secretary in the dark ages and I liked admin work and I felt like I could offer somebody something, I wasn't really sure what. I just decided to tell everybody that I knew that I was doing this kind of work. And the first client I got at the school bus stop, of all places, and it was pretty exciting. One of the dads said, we're waiting for the with the kids for the bus to come, and he said, what are you up to? And I said, oh, I'm starting this business, just getting started, blah blah blah. And his face completely lit up because he had quit his job. He was the CEO of something, I don't know what, and he quit his job, and and he had started his own business, and he was losing his mind because he had no idea about all the admin stuff that had to be done all the time. And he was really going crazy, and his wife was going crazy. So he said, we need to talk. And I said, you bet. And he hired me, and I started right away. And that was great. And then the next client I found, again, making small talk, in the line of a wedding buffet, and, asked me what I did. I told him. He gave me a card. I connected with him on LinkedIn, which just now is like no big deal. At least for me, it's no big deal, I should say. But back then it was a huge big deal. And he reached out to me because I didn't have a card. I didn't have a website. I didn't have a company name. I didn't have anything. And he reached out and said, I need help with an event. Can you help me? And I said, you bet. And, we still work together today. So it's really awesome. So you can't tell where they're going to come from. You can't tell where their clients are going to come from, but they do not come from prospecting or cold calling or any of that stuff. Okay. So you can just cross that off your list. So let's say hello to Frederica. Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday. And Teresa. Hi, Teresa. Awesome. Awesome. So here we are. I want to hit the fast forward button, okay? Because we're in a different place now. My business is called Rocket Girl Solutions. I've been a virtual assistant for 11 years and have loved pretty much every day of it. I've worked with over 225 clients, and I've made over $1 million. And that has happened right here in this very chair that I'm sitting in right now. And I did it by telling everybody I knew, about my business and staying in touch with everyone that I knew on a regular basis. So really, really important. And here's what it looks like today. So this is I only have another month or so, not even, I guess a month and a half, that I can say my new husband, because we're not going to be newlyweds after August 14th. But and these are our kids. So David, Charlie, Emily, Stephen, and Andy, and this was on our wedding day. And the thing is that my finances now, all these years later, are handled. There's no more minimum payments. I'm not barely scraping by, paying my cell phone bill on the day that it's due, and I can breathe again. I can breathe again. And the thing that's come from this that is so empowering is that by taking control of these things, by deciding to start this business, by leaning into it and really being serious about it, I am self-reliant. I am self-reliant. I know how to get clients. I know how to, I know how to bring revenue into my business, and I don't have to worry about a job. I've lived through recessions. I've lived through, the pandemic, all the things, and my business did not slow down at all. And in fact, during the pandemic, it got even busier. All right. So if you guys are ready to get going, I'm going to say hello to Tamar. I'm pretty sure that's you. Hello. Watching us on YouTube. I'm glad you're here. All right. So let's dive into this topic. Okay. Let's dive into this topic. So when you're a brand new virtual assistant, sometimes, it feels like it's a really good idea to start out at a low hourly rate, as a way to get started. Or a lot of VAs have said to me, I'm going to offer an introductory discount. I have heard of people working for free to get experience, working for a testimonial to get experience. And someone the other day told me that they did an internship, for 3 months for free. I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to do that. And I would like you to write that down. I'd like somebody to write that in the comments. I don't want you to do that. You don't need to do that. You don't need to work for free. You can get paid what you're worth right out of the gate. Okay. Now, when I started out 11 years ago, I charged $50 an hour. And I imagine nowadays, there's so much. Google wasn't invented back then, right? Literally. So, there's all this information about how much an average VA makes in the state of Massachusetts or whatever. That doesn't matter. You're going to decide how much you're going to earn. And what I thought, even though I hadn't done VA work or worked with, businesses like solo professionals before, was I made about $100,000 a year in corporate. And I thought, okay, my brain is my brain, and that's what it's worth. And so that's what I went out and said $50 an hour. And the thing is if you've never made $50 an hour, there's no reason why why you can't make $50 an hour now. Absolutely. So Therese says you don't need to work for free. Yeah, it's a little heartbreaking when I hear about that, because I don't know, like maybe it was your idea to do that and not the client, but it's different experience. I think the client treats it differently. I think, the VA treats it differently, and you don't need to be held hostage at all. When we're going to talk more about that, and that's kind of like what it feels like. Now, if you all right, so let's talk about the reasons why you don't give a discount. There's many, but the first is you don't need to. You don't need to give a discount, okay? If you want to start out at, at a little bit lower rate, but I don't mean like $15 an hour, I mean like $30 an hour, you can do that and to get started. But I'm going to want you to raise your rates on on your next client and your next client. All right. Hi, Christine. My brain is my brain. Yeah. My brain is my brain, and that's what it's worth. Magic. I'm glad you think so. It's kind of funny, but that's exactly what I thought. I'm like, okay, it's my brain. That's what they're paying for, is my brain, right? Now, I don't want you to introduce the idea of a discount because it sets the tone. It lets people think that your rates are negotiable. Your rates are not negotiable, right? So write that down too. Your rates are not negotiable. It doesn't matter who you're talking to. You're not going to be a fit for everyone, but your rates are not negotiable. And so we don't want to introduce that idea at all. We don't want to act like they're doing us a favor that they hired us, like, thank you so much, I'm going to give you a discount. We don't want to do that. We want to say, great, let's get started, right? And work. And I know that this can be scary, talking about pricing with prospective clients, because we're afraid they're going to say our price is too high. Okay, we're afraid that we're not going to get hired, and we're afraid that our business is never going to get off the ground. So, but lowering your rates is not going to help that. In fact, it's going to hurt you. Now, one of my students, she lives nearby, and we went for a walk. It's been a while now, but she said to me, she was at a networking event and she was talking to an attorney, and she told him her rates, and he said, you know what, you need to raise that because people are not going to take you seriously. And I think her rate at the time was maybe $30 or $35 or something. He said, people are not going to take you seriously. And that's true. That's true. If your rates are too low, they're going to think you're fooling around. And that's not what you want them to do. Now, I used to have a lot of chicken chatter in my head about my prices, right? So the way that I handle the chatter is I make some rules, okay? Some things that I say in my head so that I can feel okay about my decision. And then the other rule I make is I don't keep going back and thinking about the rule, okay? So I make a decision and I say, okay, you can do this. You can say, okay, for the next 2 weeks, I'm not going to think about this. For the next month, for the next 6 months. And then if you want to, put it on your calendar and say, revisit my pricing. Okay. But I want you, every time you think, once you make the guidelines, once you make them and you start to think about them again, I want you to say, oh, we're not doing that. Oh yeah. Okay. We're not doing that. We're not until it stops, right? Until it stops. Now, one of the things about giving discounts is that, so can you imagine, I've had a client for 8 years, he's paying me $90 an hour. And then some new kid on the block shows up and all of a sudden I'm going to let him pay 75. Like, think about how that would make your steady client feel. And so that's part of it. Like, I wouldn't be comfortable looking my clients who've been with me for, some of them, a decade, in the eye and saying, oh yeah, well, he's new, so I gave him a discount. Like, see how that doesn't really work. So that's kind of my inner Girl Scout, thinking. So you really want to think about that and think about the fairness of it. And that helped me in the beginning, really be clear, because people are going to ask you, do you have a nonprofit rate? And I say, I don't. And this is a big deal right here, you guys. You stop talking. Okay, you stop talking. Do you have a nonprofit rate? I don't. I do volunteer for some nonprofits that I care deeply about. I help them from time to time, but I don't offer a nonprofit rate. Right? Okay. Then people will say, can I have a special rate if I send you a lot of clients? Well, anyone who has ever said that to me has never sent me a lot of clients. I don't know really what that's about. It's kind of interesting looking back, but I don't have a special rate for that. I also don't have a special rate if they buy a ton of time. I had a client in December, he wanted to he wanted to pay for 50 hours because he wanted a tax deduction. And I said, that was fine. And he said, well, do I get a discount? I actually thought he was kidding. I don't know why that made me, think he was kidding, but I said, oh yeah, no, right? You don't have to go into a lot of detail. You don't have to tell them why. You just say, oh yeah, no. And the thing is that when people say they're going to refer a lot of people and, can they have money? What I say to them is, if you refer people, I send you a beautiful bottle of olive oil, and I'll even ask you what kind you like. I get it from this place in California. It's really cool. Like, I just changed the subject because we're not going there. We're not going there. Okay. All right. So some things absolutely get in the way, and I want to talk about those. All right. So some people say, I'm not in it for the money. I'm not in it for the money. And I got to tell you, if you're not in it for the money, this is a lot of work. This is a lot of work. So if you're not in it for the money, I would volunteer at your church or a nonprofit or, a pet shelter, something like that. I would really recommend that you do that, because if you're not in it for the money, it doesn't mean that money is everything, but it's part of it. It's part of the deal. You go to the dentist, he fills your tooth, you give him money. It's just how our society works. So if you're not in it for the money, I would rethink that. Looks like my bullets are kind of askew. The other thing, and we're going to talk about this more, is I'm new to this. I'm new to this. You are not new to being a human being. You are not new to being a problem solver. You're not new to most of the things that VAs are going to get asked to do, and you're going to learn over time. The number one skill that you have is I'll figure it out. And if you know how to figure stuff out, you have it. You have it. That is the skill. Because I have to say, yes, 11 years later, I figured out I've been a VA for like 20,000 billable hours. Like, I'm not exact. I'm probably underestimating, but yeah, I don't have to figure a whole bunch of stuff out anymore because I've been through most of the scenarios. But in the beginning, I wasn't. I knew Constant Contact, a little tiny bit of HTML, and I knew Microsoft Office. But I knew Microsoft Office, like, I didn't know about the Slide Master and PowerPoint. Like, I wasn't a ninja. I had admin knowledge, And so you don't need much more than that, and at all. And the thing is that I just figured a lot of stuff out. I didn't know how to do a webinar. Client asked me to do a webinar, and I just started thinking about it. Like, okay, how do you do a webinar? All right, well, you have to invite people. Okay, you got to send them an email. You need a platform. You need to show up. You need to send them a recording. Which is just kind of common sense. And you talk to your client about it. All right, this is what I came up with. Did I forget anything? No? Okay, good. I'm going to go figure all that out, and that's really how it works. And it's scary. It's scary, 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 but you'll get used to it. It won't be so scary anymore. And you'll probably even think, oh, wow, I get to go figure something out, which is a lot of fun. It can be a lot of fun. All right. Now, I know a lot of you want to help people. And whoops, that's my watch talking. Let me put that over there. That was Siri. So, you want to help people. You can help people and get paid for it. It's really fun to help people and get paid for it. Okay. And here's a big one. No one will pay me that much. Yes, they will. They will. They will. And everybody won't. Everybody won't, for sure. So of the 225 clients I've worked with, I had probably 600 discovery calls. 400 people weren't a good fit. Some of them were not a good fit because I decided, and some of them were not a good fit because they decided. And it doesn't even really matter because I have been full-time busy for 11 years. I didn't need the other 400 people, okay? So getting used to talking about, your rates and all that, we're going to talk about that more in a minute, but you do have to get comfortable talking about your pricing. And just because something is easy for you doesn't mean it's not worth money. Okay, it's not worth it's not worth you doing it. Think about this. I love my dentist. I talk about him a lot, Dr. Stebbins. If I go to him and he fills my tooth, right? I'm not gonna, because he likes it and because it's easy, he still is expecting to get paid, right? It's his secret sauce. And what you do is your secret sauce. So you deserve to get paid for it. Okay. And then, I'm not worth it. I don't deserve that, and then the other chicken chatter stuff that's going on in your head. And I'd love to hear in the chat, what is the stuff that goes on? I think the biggest one is there's two. One is it's so easy, I can't charge for that, right? And one of my clients one time, Michelle, we were at a party and she was bragging about me to somebody else, which is really sweet. And she said, Belinda does my newsletter and she just makes it look so easy. I could do it asleep pretty much. And she said, if I did it, it would take me all day long and there would be tears involved. I do it all in hour 15 on the website in constant all the things. It's just handled. And she pays me well for it. She pays me well for it because it's worth her time not to introduce that frustration and all the things that come from needing to do something she's not good at. Now, here's the biggest one I want to talk about, okay? And this one, I remember the first time that someone said this to me, I just paused the whole conversation and said, oh, wait. So you guys think you have to pay your dues. Right? You think you have to pay your dues. You're new to this. You don't know what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. There are no dues. Okay? There are no dues. And I want you to write that down and put it on a Post-it and stick it on your computer. There are no dues. And she thought, she was like, I've been doing this 6 months. I know I have to pay my dues before I can raise my rates. I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. And I don't know what happened with that conversation. I should check back with her. I don't know if she raised her rates, but, you're not just starting out as a human. You're not. If you're over, 20 years old and you've had any kind of job experience or life experience, you've got what it takes. And I know a lot of the people that hang out with me are closer to my age, and you have a lot of life experience, a lot of life experience. So I want you to remember that you are the solution to someone's problem. Michelle's problem was she wanted a newsletter. She didn't want to do it. I'm the solution. She's willing to pay for the solution. All right. So I'd love to hear anything you guys think about that. How many of you think that you have to pay your dues? How many of you think you have to pay your dues? That's when you can cross off your list. So that's pretty exciting. No dues. Okay. Now, if you want to be successful as a VA, you absolutely have to practice talking about your pricing so that you'll sound confident. Somebody asked me once, this was kind of funny. It was a colleague. He said, does anybody ever question your pricing? And I thought for a minute and I thought, no. They don't. They might not agree with it, but they don't question it. And the reason is because I don't pose it like a question. I don't say $90 an hour. I don't say that. My voice doesn't go up. I don't talk too much about it. I'm really clear when I speak about my pricing. And if you practice, you can do that too. You can do that too. So your rate is not going to be for everyone. I remember during the pandemic, I had 3 discovery calls in a row, like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I usually don't have that many that close together. And so this really stuck out for me because the first person I talked to, she said, your rate's on the high end. And I said, you're right. That's all I said. She is right. It's on the high end. I said, you're right. And I might have said, I'm not a fit for everyone. It was her decision. I liked her. I would have worked with her, no problem. But she didn't want to pay that. That's okay. I didn't change my rate. The second person said, they came to me and they said they had a list of things that needed to be done 5 hours a week. She wasn't having a problem with the rate, but she needed those things to be done 5 hours. And I knew they couldn't be done. They just couldn't. It was impossible. She wanted appointment setting, a newsletter. She just wanted all of these things. And she wanted a flat rate for 5 hours. And I knew it wasn't a fit. So I just explained to her, very nicely and professionally how that was going to be difficult and said, I'm happy to help you, but it can't be done in 5 hours with all, my years of experience. I can just see that. So if you want to renegotiate, what is getting done, we can talk about that. But we never negotiated the rate. Both of those people went away. That was fine. The next day, I met with a potential client. She explained to me what she wanted. It was really easy to do, no problem, liked her a lot. And I told her my rate, and she hesitated for a second because she was thinking, right? I said something, she needed to process it. And she said, that sounds good. What can we get started next week? It's like, you bet, she's still a client, right? So that's how that works. You just have to be prepared to talk about it. Now, what I want you to do when it comes to the money part of the discovery call is I want you to take control of the money conversation. So when you get to the end and you decide yes or no, do you want to work with them? You can say, I think we're a good fit, and see what they say. And if they say, yeah, that sounds good, then I'll say, did you have a chance to look at my pricing on my website? And all I'm finding out is where to start the conversation. If they say yes, then I'll say, great, do you have any questions? You want me to go over it? Stop talking. And if they say no, I'll say, okay, great. It's really simple. Here's how it works. Write that down, guys. It's really simple. Here's how it works. And then I talk about my pricing. People prepay my time in 5 or 10 hour chunks. I call it the Rocket Girl debit card. The time is good for a year. You can use it in any increment you want. Some clients buy 5 hours, a week. Some buy, 20 hours a year, and you can use it for whatever you'd like. And then I stop talking. And then, when you're talking about the pricing, there's going to be like this imposter syndrome screaming in your head. And so what you need to do is replace it with your voice saying those words. I can't think of anything else successfully when I'm reciting my pricing. So you absolutely have to practice. You have to practice. Okay. Yeah. So what did we talk about? No discounts for any reason. I did give a discount once. I'll tell you this. I did give a discount once because I needed the money. It was early on in my career. Client was going to buy 10 hours a week. I discounted her $10 an hour. She paid $60 an hour. I was at 70, and she was the client that I talk about all the time, the really big one that I fired. And I lasted 2 years because I needed the money, and I did it. But it's just so interesting. Whenever I break my own rules, that's always a problem. I could tell you 100 stories about me thinking, well, it'll be different this time. It's not. It's not. So don't give a discount, okay? Lean into this, you guys. Practice talking about your pricing. Don't Google the hourly rate for VAs in Massachusetts. Don't do that. Don't worry about people on the other side of the world. The way that I teach you how to get clients, you don't need to be concerned with that. You're going to find your people, the ones who are lined up with you, and your business is going to take off, and it's going to be great. Okay? It's going to be great. And one of the ways I want to help you do that is in my upcoming challenge. All right. So on July 25th, we are going to kick off a whole new VA Client Kickstart Challenge. It's a 5-day free training that will have you get a steady stream of clients in your VA business, whether you're just starting out or you've been doing this for a while. I've had VAs come that have been in business 11 years, 1 year, just thinking about it, trying to figure out if they even want to do this, get a lot of value out of this free 5-day training. I go deep. This is not a surface thing where I start, selling you something from the very beginning. It's not anything like that. On day 1, we talk about our services, and we talk about how you choose your services. On day 2, we talk about how to talk about your work in a way that people will understand what you do. And that's when we learn about the power of stop talking. So don't miss that. On day 3, we talk about where clients are so you can position yourself so that they can see you. On day 4, we talk about the support systems that you need in your business to be successful. And I also open enrollment for my signature course called VA School. So that is on day 4. And then on day 5, we have an epic Q&A session all about things virtual assistants. So I'd love to have you come. You can go over to vachallenge.info and sign up. We have a Facebook group, and things are starting to heat up. So I love to have you join me. Okay, you guys, thanks for coming. It's great to see you. Have a great weekend, and bye for now.